This is the Crossing Bridges podcast, addressing the topics of leadership, criminal justice, and fatherhood. How can we become better leaders? Where are all the daddies? Why is crime at an all-time high? Here is your host, Bayonle Arashi.
All right, this is Crossing Bridges podcast with Bayonle Arashi. I am very excited to come across you with this first episode of the podcast. It's a pleasure. This has been long in work. I've been thinking about it. I've actually been thinking of where to start and topics to discuss. But today I'm very, very excited because finally I'm introducing and recording the first episode of the podcast titled Crossing Bridges. And why Crossing Bridges? It has to do with three subjects that I'm very, very passionate about. One of them is the topic of leadership. I have looked and observed over the past few years that there's a huge vacuum in the areas of leadership. We do not have a lot of people that lead anymore. Let's look at it across the board in every sector, in sports, in politics, and even in terms of workplace. People don't want to take responsibility for a lot of things. And of course, I am not coming to you as someone that knows it all or that is that feels he has everything together. I'm coming to you hoping that together we can share our knowledge to make our world a better place, just as the great Zig Ziglar said in one of his very, very most important quote. He said, you can get everything you want if you help as many people get what they want. So this is more of me trying to gather the next generation of leaders for us to come together and put on our thinking cap and see how we can make our world a better place. So leadership is a major, major subject that we're going to be discussing on this podcast. And of course, the criminal justice as well. Just look at it. Is there any time or day that you put on your TV, especially in our climate here in the United States? I live in Texas. And is there a time or a day that you put on your TV to watch the news and the first four news that you watch doesn't have anything to do with crime? It is unbelievable. It is unimaginable. It is actually becoming more chaotic than a lot of us thought it was. So we need to start discussing criminal justice. Why do people commit so much crime that they commit? What set their mind in motion to make them feel that that is the next thing they have to do is to commit crime when we have such a working system in place in the country that you can choose to go to school, you can choose to study whatever you want to study, you can choose to read on a particular subject that is important to you, you can choose to apply to work, especially if you are born here. I am an immigrant and a very proud one at that. I came to this country in 2015. And my story is something I hope someday I will share with you guys on this podcast. It's nothing short of miracle. Before I come here, I have been a professional in the broadcast industry for almost 2 decades. I started my career in television broadcasting back in Nigeria. And I think even as tough as it was back there, I never knew. I've always set my eyes on coming to the United States and be able to build a better world and better life for myself and my family, so I can be able to, so that none of my family members will find life as difficult as I found it. I will make life easy for my offspring as well, for my children and maybe their own children, because that's just what the book of God says, right? That you have to make life better than you met it. So when I come here and I see crime at an all high rate as it is right now, it somehow worries me a lot. And I've been thinking about it, like I said, that, okay, how can I make any kind of difference in this area? Well, fortunately for me, when I came to the US, I did some hot jobs, some jobs here and there that wasn't just what I wanted to do. But eventually, I found myself working in the criminal justice system with the state of Texas, and it was kind of an eye-opener. I have never seen such an atmosphere or such place before in my life. It was really, 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 really refreshing, and to see that such place exists. Working in the system and talking to a lot of inmates and imagining their life, how they got to the stage of becoming a prisoner, someone that is incarcerated. And also I observed something very, very interesting while working. I'm still with the state at the moment, that a lot of inmates used to be older people. They used to be people that are in their 50s, 60s, but lately it has really, really gotten worse. We have them younger coming into the system now, between ages, you see them as young as 16, 17, already in a state facility. At the moment, as at the last count, we have about 119,000 incarcerated inmates in the state of Texas alone, that are serving time for different offense. For me, I just feel this should not be so. So when I trace it down further, I found out that there is a lot of challenge from the family circle. Most kids that are growing up in the country, or that have grown up in this part of the world, especially if you have to look at, if you have to break it down up to the area of race, most of the time, the folks that grow up in the African-American community or home tend to not grow up with both parents. And at the end of the day, most of them end up getting in some kind of trouble while they are in their teenage years, and they end up being incarcerated. And once this happens, the cycle is so hard to break out of. You see many of them have been doing time since when they are 17, and even now that some of them are in their 40s, they are serving even a longer time. 20 years, 25 years. It gives me a lot of cause of concern, a lot of cause for concern to come out here, and hopefully I can share what is going on behind the walls with you, and some realities that a lot of you are not aware of, and you can use that as a way for you to remind yourself of how to behave in the society, and how to think of making your life better and not end up behind the prison walls. The third subject that we're going to be discussing here is fatherhood, which I already mentioned in my introduction now, that what happened, where are the fathers? Why are men not so much want to be involved in the life of the kids or children that they are bringing into the world with their wives or with their girlfriends, as it is most of the time in this part of the world? You look at it that the law is actually one of the reasons why a lot of them don't want to do it. But we have to come together as men, to be able to discuss, okay, why is it so? How can we make it better? How can we support each other to see that we become more involved in the lives of our children? These and many more are what we're going to be discussing on Crossing Bridges podcast. And I hope that you guys are going to be with me, and we're going to be doing this together every week. I am, like I said again, I am not someone that is coming to you as someone that knows it all or as an authority, but I assure you that over the years, I have prepared myself, I have learned, I have read, I have observed, I have life experience, as it is known that two things have shaped our life for forever. It is our environment and, of course, our experience. The environment that I came from is something I think I need to share with a lot of people that are growing up in this part of the world. And, of course, my experience also working in different sectors, broadcasting, sports, and now criminal justice has shaped me to be what I am today. So I definitely feel I have enough experience, I have enough authority, and I have enough ideas to share on these topics that will be discussed on this platform. So I hope you guys are going to come with me. And finally, I'm going to say this before I take a short break, that I hope that you're not going to listen to the messenger or the way I'm delivering the message but you're going to listen to the message involved in this podcast, and you're going to take it home and you're going to make it work for you. I'll be back after the short break.
This is the Crossing Bridges podcast, addressing the topics of leadership, criminal justice, and fatherhood. How can we become better leaders? Where are all the daddies? Why is crime at an all-time high? Here is your host, Bayonle Arashi.
Welcome back. I'm very excited coming your way. It is still the Crossing Bridges podcast with Bayonle Arashi. One of the topics that I think we're going to share today in when it comes to leadership is how to become a person of value. A lot of people do not know that they have the capacity to become a leader, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their experience. Everyone is called to lead in one area or the other. And the truth of the matter is not every one of us will become an entrepreneur. Because a lot of time when you talk about leadership, people will automatically assume you are trying to say, okay, I have to own a company or I have to lead people in my organization. No, it is not like that. But in every area that you find yourself, there is always an area that you can serve and that you can be the best at. And if you can pay attention to something as little as that and be willing to work on that and make yourself the best version of yourself in that particular area, your level of leadership, your leadership skill will not be something that anybody will want to overrule or anybody will want to take advantage of you. So how do you become a person of value? It is, number one, is for you to always be open to learning, always be receptive to people. When they tell you something, it is okay for you not to know everything. It is okay for you to say, I don't know that thing, but I would love to know. And for you to ask questions, for you to be willing to learn from other people's experience. Remember that most of those people that are trying to share their experience with you, they have probably lived longer, or they have lived that experience that you are about to just come into, and you taking that experience into your own part of life is something that will help you to be able to go further and share with other people. So you have to always be willing to share your experience and be willing to learn on how you can become a better version of yourself every time. Secondly, how do you become a person of value? It is by you being open to reading books. You can never, ever underestimate the power of reading books. Personally, for me, a lot of things that I have done or that I am doing today, I would never think or imagine me doing them. But this experience of me reading books was, of course, invested in me by my father. I remember the first book he bought for me. I can't remember the title of the book today, but I know it was by Shakespeare. And that was while I was in middle school. They call it middle school here. I think I was in GSS 3 back then in Nigeria, when my father bought me my first book. I mean, at that time, I did not understand why he would be offering me a book, but I managed to read through it. And when he saw me reading it, and he didn't just buy the book for me to read. I always see my dad while growing up is either praying or reading or writing. So I didn't understand it, and that's why they said kids do learn more by what you're doing than what you're saying. Your kids, no matter how old they are, they believe more in what they see you do by what they hear you say to them. So if you want your kid to do something, it is better for you or for them to see you doing that thing that you're asking them to do before they start doing it. And automatically, when they see you do it, they themselves will want to do it. So reading book is a very powerful thing. After my dad introduced the Shakespeare book to me, I remember the second one he bought for me very, very well, because that is actually one of the best books I think I have encountered in my adult life. And that was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He bought me that book, I think, while I was in my vocational school, technical college that I went to, because I actually went to a vocational school, a government technical college, where I studied broadcast communication. And that was how I got my first job right after finishing that 3-year college in 1999. So Think and Grow Rich was a book that changed my life forever. The first time I read it, I did not understand a lot of things in it. And that's one of the things a lot of people need to also know, that the first time you read a book, you might not pick up a lot of information in it, but at the second read or the third read, and every time you open that book, you will always gain new grounds, you will always learn new things, you always gain new experience from them. So learning to read a book is a value that will change your life forever. You cannot, nothing can beat the mind of someone that open books up and read them and be able to understand what is written in the book. Just look at them. Just imagine anyone that you can think of right now that is a person of success, or that you are looking up to, or that you're thinking, oh, that guy is really up there. Just go and read about them, or take any observation. You will notice that one of the things that shaped them to be what they are today is the capacity for them to be able to read books written by other great people that have lived before them. That's one of the best ways you can become a person of value. When you read books, you will be able to share your thoughts, your ideas very easily with other people, and you will find it easy to understand what you're saying. Because you will be able to express yourself easily. Your confidence level will be high. Of course, a lot of people that might not understand you might call you cocky, but just leave them to that. And that's another thing you have to deal with in life. You will be willing to deal with a lot of negativity, because there is so much negativity out there these days. But reading book is very, very important. So as I said earlier, first one, you must be receptive to knowledge, to people teaching you something that you don't know, or sometimes even if you know, just listen and see how much more your life can improve. Secondly, for you to be a book lover, to read books and be receptive to a lot of opportunity. That thirdly is for you to find something that you love to do. And that's where I'm going to stop today. Finding a passion, an area of passion, something you know that you can do for hours. And if nobody pays you for it, you will be willing to keep doing that thing. There is nothing much more powerful than someone that finds his life purpose very early in life, that knows what he is called here to do. For me, it was not a very easy path, but finally I did find it. For example, when I started working in the broadcast industry in 1999, I was hired as a technician to power up the transmitter in the days of analog transmission. Just put up the transmitter and put it off back then at MITV in Lagos. But my inquisitive mind will not just let me sit down where they put me. So whenever I put on the transmitter, I will leave my duty post literally, and I will go to the master control room, and I'll be watching what the other guys are doing in the production department. Unknown to me that my one of my supervisors, I always give him that credit. His name is Engineer Tosin Awonaike. I hope he's still alive. I hope he's still doing well. And I hope somehow he gets to watch or listen to this. I didn't know he was watching me. So after a couple of weeks, he called me. He said, "Young man, I've been watching you. I do not think you are someone that really want to be an engineer. So I'm going to move you to the production department, because I always see you in the MCR, in the master control room." And that was how he transferred me to the master control room and the production department. And believe it or not, my name then back then I worked was Whiskey, because I picked up learning from how to do the videotape recorder, how to direct master control room, how to operate all the machines there in less than few months. And my boss started calling me Whiskey. And that was how I got into production and started falling in love with the game of soccer. We call it football, but we call soccer out here. And after a couple of years, one of my supervisors there also moved to a bigger platform, a bigger organization. And he said, young man, I just have to have you with me. Come with me to this new place that I'm working. And that was how I transferred to AIT. And in AIT, my knowledge of football and of broadcasting even became broader. And I learned more. I got to know more about the job. And then I was transferred specifically to be covering football, whatever the national team is playing. And that was how my passion just blew up from there. And I found out that I love soccer. And believe it or not, 22 years after, right now, I am still in love with broadcasting and with football. And that's why I'm right in front of you today. Because as new methods are being discovered to podcasting, to broadcasting, to soccer, to everything, you have to keep following and keep learning there. So it's very, very important for you to find something you love to do very early on. You might not be in that particular place at the moment, but as soon as you find it, you have to start channeling your life towards that area and start moving there slowly but surely. I hope these 3 nuggets that I shared with you today on the podcast is going to resonate with you, and you can start putting it to practice. It's a brand new year. It's 2023 today. The date of this recording is January 2nd, 2023. You have a brand new year right in front of you to set yourself apart, to plan a new path, to redesign your life, to think back and make a choice, make the right choice of, okay, what do I want to do right now? You might have made a lot of mistakes in the past years or past year. This is the time for you to sit down and look at it again, like, okay, where do I want to start from? Hopefully next week or next time when I come, I will be able to have a guest on the show. Hopefully on this show, I'll be having a lot of guest leaders in different sectors to share with you some of their secrets to success, and then we can all together continue to learn from them and see how we can make our life better. It's been my pleasure bringing the first episode of the podcast to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I definitely love your feedback on what you think about this first episode and how it can get better and what you think I should add to it. But as I mentioned, it's going to be all about leadership, all about criminal justice, and about fatherhood, how we can have the fathers actually fathering their children, how we can have leaders actually rising up to occasion, how we can reduce crime in our society. Till I see you again next week, God willing. My name is Bayonle Arashi. It's been my pleasure. Have a great day and God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the Crossing Bridges podcast with Bayonle Arashi. Your comments, suggestions, and ideas are welcomed. Follow Bayonle on all social media platforms at Bayonle Arashi, or visit www.bayonlearashi.com for coaching and speaking engagements. See you next time.